Hello, my name is Florian and I welcome you to IT Tech Tips. If you followed our Setting Up the Lab series so far, you now have Oracle VirtualBox installed on your PC and two guest PCs for the two servers we're going to use in our lab. In this video, we're going to download and install two Windows 10 clients, which we're going to use for future experiments and case studies. Let's have a look. To install Windows 10, we need to download an ISO file first, which we can then mount in VirtualBox, the same way we did with Windows Server 2019. Unfortunately, Microsoft does not provide a direct download link as with Windows Server 2019, so I'll show you another way to get the ISO file. I want to emphasize that everything we're doing is strictly legal. I'll show you the official Microsoft way to get the ISO file of Windows 10. So first, open your favorite web browser and do a Google search for Windows 10 Media Creation Toolkit. One of the first links will be the download link to the Media Creation Toolkits from Microsoft. Make sure that you land on the Microsoft official web page for security reasons. Click on the link, scroll down a little bit until you get the link for Create Windows 10 Installation Media and select Download Tool now. Save the executable. Go to the download place and double-click it to run the Media Creation Toolkit. Also note the Windows 10 version, which is in the name of the Media Creation Toolkit file you've just downloaded. In this case, it's 2004, which stands for the year 2020, April, which is the fourth month of the year. When you do this lesson, you may be a version higher or two. Run it and you might get a UAC prompt that you really want to execute it. Confirm by pressing yes. The tool will start. And of course, there's the inevitable licensing agreement. Read through it and click accept. After a few moments, you have two options: upgrade this PC now and create installation media. We want to select the second option, create installation media. Click next. And we do not use the recommended options for this PC because usually they differ from the options we need for our lab. So uncheck the checkbox. And now you have the option to choose the language, the edition and the architecture. For the language, we choose English, United States, and the edition will be Windows 10, and the architecture will choose 64 bits. Click Next. And here we have the option to create an ISO file. So choose ISO file and click Next. You can now choose the place where you want to download this file. Choose the same folder you've downloaded the Windows Server 2019 ISO file before. And we're going to rename the download file with the version number of Windows 10 so you can easily refer to it later. So rename it to Windows 10 2004.iso. Click Save and wait for the download to complete. I sped up the video a little bit to save you some time. You now have downloaded the Windows 10 ISO file in the version 2004. Click Finish to close the Media Creation Toolkit. Since we're going to install 2 Windows 10 clients, I'm going to walk you through the first installation in more detail and through the second installation just real quick with the differences to the first installation. Also, the first part of the installation is really similar to the installation of Windows Server 2019 we did in the last few episodes. Let's begin. First, we're going to create a folder for our installation of the first client. As before, create a folder called Acme-Client01. And create a new virtual machine. Click on Machine and New. Call it Acme-Client01, like you did with the folder, and choose the folder you have just created. The folder must be, as usual, on your SSD. For the type, keep Microsoft Windows and select Windows 10 64 bits. That's important. You can keep the 2 GB or 2048 MB of memory. And we're going to create a virtual hard drive of the type VDI, dynamically allocated as before, and we increase the size to 80 GB. Click Create and go to the settings of the virtual machine so we can change 2 things. On System Processor, we're going to add another core, so the machine has 2 cores instead of the default one. And at Storage, we're going to mount the ISO file we have just downloaded. So choose a disk file and select the Windows 10 ISO file. Your version may differ from my version depending on when you followed this video. And you can start the virtual PC for the first time. Click Start. And again, choose the Windows 10 ISO file. Make sure that you don't have the selected Windows Server 2019. As with Windows Server 2019, the first prompt is the language prompt. Keep the language to install at English United States and choose the keyboard layout which matches your physical keyboard. Choose I don't have a product key because you don't have one, and then select Windows 10 Professional. This is really important. The Windows 10 Home version will not support many of the case studies and experiments we're doing in the future. Read the licensing agreement and click on I accept the license terms. And then Next. Choose Custom to check we have the correct hard drive mounted. It is correct. Click Next. And then I sped up the video for all the getting ready and copying the files and configuring stuff. You can go grab a coffee. After the restart or the several restarts, you can choose the region you're in. It is best to choose the region you're actually in and not keep it at the default. And set up this PC for personal use. This is really important because we're going to change that in the future, but we can only change it if you choose personal use here. And here also important, choose create an offline account. And here you choose limited experience. You might wonder why the setup is asking for several times. The reason behind this is that Microsoft is really pushing towards user creating a Microsoft account and using that for installing Windows 10. In our lab, however, this is not the best way to do it because we're going to set up a domain in one of the next videos. So we're trying our best with this installation wizard to actually install the Windows 10 with a local user account. Alright, now that we have persuaded the setup wizard that we really want a local account, you can type in your account name. We call it John Doe. Click Next and select our password for the lab, which is the password with a capital P, capital W, the number 0 for the O and an exclamation mark at the end. Click Next and confirm the password by typing the same password again. The next prompt will ask you to select 3 security questions. Actually, it should be called insecurity questions, because if someone knows you or does a social engineering attack on you, they will easily find out this information and will be able to access the data on your computer. So what we are going to do is we're selecting 3 random questions out of the question pool and we're entering garbage as an answer. You don't even have to know what you're entering, you don't have to write it down, it's just to circumvent this whole security question system. As you can see, I'm doing this real quick. I'm not even reading the questions or my answers. In the next few prompts, we're being asked about features of Windows 10 we want to enable. So here it is, privacy versus functionality. Since we're in a lab environment, we're going to prefer functionality over privacy. So we use online speech recognition, we let Microsoft use our location, including the Find My Device feature. We are even going to send full diagnostic data because some features depend on that being on full. Choose yes for improved writing and tailored experiences and the advertising ID. And finally, the installation is complete and Windows will log you on for the first time. The first thing we're going to do is to update the operating system. With a Windows 10 client operating system, there are 2 types of updates we're going to do. The typical Windows updates you may know already, and also the Microsoft App Store updates. We're going to update everything to the newest version. So enter Update after clicking on the Windows sign. That brings you to Windows Updates and select Check for Updates. After a few moments, the updates are going to download and install. Leave this window be and open Microsoft Store. On the top right corner, select Downloads and Updates. And hit the button Get Updates. Both updates, Windows updates and the Microsoft Store updates, will take quite a lot of time to complete. In my system it was over half an hour, so I sped up this video a lot. You can go grab a coffee. After everything is installed, you most likely will have to restart your system. But we're not going to do that right now because first we want to rename this PC. We are doing that by right-clicking on the Windows logo on the bottom left and choose the menu item System. Then scroll down a little bit and choose Rename this PC, and you call it, you have guessed it, Acme-Client01. Click Next And now we're going to restart the PC. I've also sped this up a little bit. So in the login prompt, enter your password, and hit enter or press the icon. We're going to open the command prompt to check that the renaming of the PC was successful. So enter hostname, as you did before in the Windows Server 2019, and as you can see, the renaming was complete. Choose shutdown, update and restart. Because there were some Windows updates pending in the background, this might not be the case in your installation. In mine it was. And log in again. And this time we can shut down the client for good. As we did before, we create a snapshot. And we call it Basic Setup. Click OK, and that concludes our first client installation. Since you have successfully installed Acme-Client01, the installation of the second client is going to be a piece of cake, because the only difference is that we're calling it Acme-Client02. As an exercise, you might want to watch this video first and then do this installation all by yourself. First, we are creating a folder called Acme-Client02 on your SSD. Create the corresponding virtual machine called Acme-Client02 with the location you've just created. The type will be Windows and the version Windows 10, 64 bits. Keep the memory size, create a virtual hard drive of type VDI, dynamically allocated with the size of 80 gigabytes. And make sure it's in the right location on your SSD. Then go to Settings, give it a second CPU core, and select the ISO file for Windows 10. Click Start, and again choose the correct ISO file for the installation. And after that, everything is the same as we did before with Client 01. You don't have a product key, choose Windows 10 Professional, not the home version or any of the other versions. Accept the licensing terms, click Next. Choose Custom Install to check that you selected the right drive. And grab another cup of coffee. Choose the region you're in and the keyboard layout. You don't want to add another keyboard layout, so choose Skip and set it up for personal use. Create an offline account and again choose Limited Experience. And John Doe is going to use this PC for the moment. Create the password. Confirm the password. And choose just some garbage input for the 3 security questions. Again, we choose the options which prefer functionality over privacy. We even send full diagnostic data again. And we select No on activity history. After first login, we're going to have to install the Windows updates and the Microsoft Store updates again. As we did before. And it's time for another cup of coffee, because this will take quite a long time again, in my case half an hour. Again, before restarting after all these updates, we're going to rename this PC. This time we're using the control panel. Go to System and Security, choose System, then change Settings and click Change, and enter Acme-Client02. It's just another way of renaming the computer, but the result is the same. I just wanted to show you two ways of doing it. Click OK, Apply, and this time we're going to restart the computer. The Windows updates will be finished installing, and you can insert Ctrl-Alt-Delete and enter the password you've created. We're again going to check that the renaming of the PC was successful, because this will be really important in the future videos that we have the correct host names. So open a command prompt and enter host name. And as you can see, the renaming was successful. Right click on the Windows logo and select Shutdown. To wrap it up, we're going to create a snapshot called Basic Setup. Click OK, and that concludes our installation of the second client in our lab. You now have installed all operating systems we're going to use in the near future for our lab experiments. You also have created snapshots, so you can easily go back if something goes wrong. All systems are still connected by the NAT of Oracle VirtualBox to the internet, which is not a good thing, and we're going to change that in the next video when we are configuring the network. Stay tuned, subscribe and ring the bell. See you next time.